WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network presents with Transformational Life Coach.
Well, hello and welcome to the Manifest Your Ideal Life show. My name's Angela Kane and I'm your host, along with my dear friend and colleague, Mary Tudor. You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. Both Mary and I are transformational life coaches, and this show is all about how to consciously manifest your ideal life. And over the coming weeks, we'll be exploring all the ways in which we sabotage our happiness and get in our own way, and how to move past that into consciously creating what we want instead of what we don't want. And coming up today, we are continuing our discussions on dealing with challenges that crop up in our life and how they affect our ability to manifest our ideal life. And specifically today, a subject that's cropped up very recently for us is the topic of forgiveness, which is a huge, huge topic, but a very, very important one on this road to manifesting your ideal life. I'm sure that we'll share some tricky things that have cropped up in our lives today, but before we go any further, let's just say hello to Mary. Are you there, Mary?
Hi, Angela, and everybody who's listening today. Great to be with you. And as you say, yes, forgiveness, a big topic, Angela.
It really is, Mary, isn't it? And it really does inhibit you living a full life. I know with the many clients that I've worked with, Mary, and I'm sure you've seen this too, when we start peeling away the layers, of the issues and the problems and the stuck patterns and energy that they have, that we all have, I always find there is people in there that they're carrying resentment and anger and so on for, and that, we need to begin the process of forgiveness, because the process of forgiveness is, to me, a process of healing.
Absolutely, Angela. It's just such a big topic, and I'm loving the way you've had the courage to just dive in there and go, look, this is where it's at. Most of us have had issues in our life because it's what life's about. You're doing something, you have a way forward, a plan, you've got a life design, and somebody somewhere actually treads very heavily on your toes as you're trying to move forward in your own life.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the first place we need to look when we are stuck, is to say, if I've got some issues that I've shut in the cupboard, where I might need to go and explore whether forgiveness might be a resolution to it. Otherwise I can't be manifesting what I want in my ideal life, because my energy is split. I've not got my full energy vibrating at the highest frequency. I've got some of my energy shut very tightly in resentment, bitterness and anger.
Yeah.
So for me, it is that bit about, it is a massive doorway into healing. Very, very important for us to look at if we're wanting to manifest things.
Yes, absolutely.
I think one of the wonderful things that came my way a few years ago, which I still use, is I'm not going to say it correctly if I'm not careful, the Ho'oponopono prayer.
Ho'oponopono, yes.
That's it, well done.
Yeah.
I knew there was an oppo or an ono in there.
It is a tricky one to get your tongue round, isn't it?
But good job you got yours round it, Angela. Because it is that from that Hawaiian culture and basis, where we're looking at asking for 4 things, which is to say, we want to actually say sorry, we want to say thank you, we want to say I love you, we want to say forgive me, please. And I looked at that first with an understanding very differently from the understanding I have of it now. So I was looking at it by saying, and for those listeners who are not familiar with it, it's to say those 4 things: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me,
and thank you. Yeah.
You say them round and round as a mantra.
Yeah.
And while you're focusing on the issue for which forgiveness is appropriate. And I started that process with reasonable success when I was looking at saying, I would like the other person who stepped on my toes, in my opinion, to actually come forward for forgiveness. But more recently, I'm using it to say, what that person did is what they did. What I want to do is say, I want to forgive myself for allowing that person to take me away from my true nature, which is the light that I am, the love that I am, the essence that I am, and to drag me away, which, into an embroilment of bitterness, anger, jealousies, all those sorts of things, a drama that I can engage with. And my sense is that used as a rhythmic mantra, an affirmation, a request for healing for ourselves, it is an incredibly powerful little set of verses. Have you used it, Angela?
I have, yes. I actually trained as a practitioner some years ago in it, Mary. And but sometimes we have all these things in our proverbial tool bag, don't we? And we forget about them. And but I did mention that, I think, or I hope I did, because I did intend to, in the book that I wrote, because I have used it on myself, and I have also used it with clients. And the story behind that, from the I don't know whether you're aware of that, Mary, from the doctor that healed the psychiatric patients.
No,
Have
but
you heard about that?
I've heard about the story, but I'm not familiar enough to share it with our listeners. But if you've got the background there, Angela, please, share.
Yes, it was. It's some years since I've heard it, but it was a psychiatrist in Hawaii. I think it was a hospital in Honolulu, I think. And at this particular psychiatric, it was for the criminally insane, and they couldn't keep staff. Staff were always leaving. Staff were always off sick. It was a real awful place, And anyway, this particular psychiatrist went to work there, and I think within 4 years, it might have been a bit longer than that, but I'm sure it was within about 4 years, the hospital closed because people were released. And he was healing people from these most terrible crimes that they'd committed, rape and murder and all sorts of things. And he didn't actually treat the patients. What he did was he got all the files of the patients, picked up their file, and did the work, the Ho'oponopono work, on himself.
Brilliant.
And his philosophy is that we take 100% responsibility for our lives. And he takes that 100% responsibility to another level that I was aware of, which is that anybody or anything that comes into your life, you take 100% responsibility for. And that's a bit of a, it's quite hard to get your head around that initially.
But it's very empowering. Angela.
It is very empowering, and it really does make you think. So if somebody comes into your life and, you're having a really, difficult relationship with someone, and, sometimes it can be quite volatile or whatever, with this process, you think to yourself, what is going on within me that has brought this person into my life? And what can I do within me to release this issue? Or, so if you keep continuing the process of, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And my understanding is that it doesn't matter in which order you say the phrases.
No.
Then, the situation will diffuse. Either the person may leave your life or something will happen, but you don't need to know when or how. You just need to keep doing the work on yourself. But it's very, very, as you say, very, very empowering and a very, very interesting process to work with.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Quite often when we are in a situation where somebody has stepped badly on our toes in life, we are all about turning around and pointing the finger at the other person. We are all about blame. And that is hugely disempowering, because the moment we point towards another, we lose our full power because we come into victim mode.
Yeah.
We actually, as soon as we turn towards another person, we go, well, they did X, Y, and Z to me.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at manifesting, keeping our energy up high, we need to look beyond the literal, and we need to come out of the drama, and we need to say, something happened. Where is your energy now? What are you doing with your frequency and vibration? How do you get it back up to a wonderful high level that you can start to realign, and you can bring all that you want into your life? I mean, that one of the huge eye-openers for me a few years back was I sat for quite some time going, what is the purpose of these big experiences that come into our lives? What are they there for? And I came to the conclusion, which was appropriate for me, which was to say I could never get to experience, to know, to take part in the concept of unconditional love if somebody had not stepped on my toes badly. Because otherwise, all the love that I was engaging with in life was conditional. It was because people were being nice.
Yeah.
People liked the things I liked, did the things I wanted them to do, I was very happy and comfortable around them, and it wasn't until I started bumping into experiences where it was like, really? I think that's cut right across my bow. Thank you very much. I'm not very happy about that. That it opened me to saying, well, what did I do? Did I automatically turn and blame? Or did I actually have the wisdom and the growth to say, do you know what? You have just, another lovely word in our language, you have just off-ended me. Pick that little bit up from Christy Whitman that I did my life coaching training with, wonderful American lady. And she said, look at that word. She said, when somebody says something that upsets you, does something that upsets you, you take offense. And if you look at the word offend, you quite literally off-end someone. So you take them away from their place of alignment. You take them out of alignment and their wonderful sense of empowered living. So for me, when I started understanding that, I could then I could see a purpose for these things happening to us. And it was an invitation to me to say, can you engage reasonably quickly, Mary, in the forgiveness process? It might take a long time to forgive, but get into the forgiveness process, show willing, so that you then open that door and you start to kind of move on that pathway with the understanding in your heart of, actually, I want to experience the unconditional love.
Yeah, and as you say, Mary, I was having this discussion with the ladies last night at a mindfulness class that I teach, and we were talking about forgiveness, and I was saying that, you're not always at the place where you can forgive,
no,
but to begin the process and just to say, I'm willing, I am willing to forgive.
Yeah.
Or I'm willing to start the process of forgiveness.
And sometimes
sometimes it takes a long time before you're there.
Yeah.
Depending on how severe the situation is, or that, how much you feel that person has betrayed you or hurt you. If it can be a really, horrible divorce or something, which probably lots of people listening to this show might have experienced. That can take time, and if it's very, very bitter, but just to be willing. Because the gift of forgiveness is the gift for yourself, not the other person.
It enables you to come back as quickly as possible onto your own track, onto your own alignment, onto your own path, with your own amazing vibration, and then you have power to actually create the life that you desire instead of remaining embroiled in an unhappy scenario. And I loved when you mentioned then, be willing to do it. I can put my hand up several situations in life where I had to say, I'm willing to be willing to be willing to actually do this. So it's like, how many willings do you need to go back before you actually think, yeah, that's okay, I'm now willing? Because again, it's lining yourself up with it. It's no good saying, oh, I'm happy to forgive, when actually that's not the truth.
When you're not, that's right. Yeah.
You'll end up in a worse mess with that one. It's like, you need to find, how far away am I from being willing to forgive? And actually take it from there, and just notice how your willingness, quite literally to do it, starts to bring your energy forward, and there will be doors that open, and little things that would have been enormous blocks start to melt away from you, because you're holding in your energy, do you know what, to regain control of my life, to re-empower myself, to reopen my heart. I truly, truly want to actually be able to be willing to forgive in this situation.
Yes,
and often
absolutely.
it's about forgiving myself for allowing a certain situation to unfold.
Yeah, it is. And one of the ladies, something that cropped up last night, which was interesting, because one of the ladies mentioned that, you know, a situation in her life, she hadn't forgiven the person, but she distanced herself from it. And I said, what you have to be careful from here is that you're not burying it, you know, that you're not ignoring it. That's very different. It's a very different energy than forgiveness, isn't it?
It is. And that's a really important point, and I think might be useful for us to talk around that a little bit, Angela, for the next half of the show.
Yes. So with that, we'll just head off for a quick break. But if this is something that's resonating with you, and I'm sure most people I know most, if not all people I've come across in life have something to forgive. So it's probably, hopefully it's useful to our listeners this morning. So we'll be right back with you. So don't go anywhere.
Have you been getting enough lately? You know what I mean. Inspiration. Join us right here on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, the singles internet talk station, for all your inspiration.
Hello and welcome back to the Manifest Your Ideal Life show. And before the break, we were talking about the huge topic of forgiveness, and Mary and I discussed there's many, but one practice in particular, which is the old Hawaiian method of Ho'oponopono. And you may or may not be familiar with that, but if you put that into Google, lots of information will come up for you on that. And it is a really, really useful practice. Certainly if you have an issue around forgiveness at the moment, or there's something or someone in your life that you really feel you want to forgive, but you're just not there yet, that would be really helpful to you. And just before we went to a break, Mary, we were discussing about, what had happened in the group that I was running last night, where a lady had said she had not forgiven a certain person for doing something. She'd actually just distanced herself from it. And what I was aware of immediately was that distancing yourself and burying something is very, very different to forgiving something. It's not the same thing, and it won't have the same outcome and result for you, because that buried energy, that stuck energy, will still be residing in your body. You're just not looking at it. And total forgiveness means the releasing, the letting go of all that resentment and pain, so that we can welcome in the new energy, the new, more positive energy that will help to carry us forward into manifesting the things we want to manifest. So that's really something to be aware of there, not burying the issue, but looking at it, accepting it, and then saying, okay, do I want to carry this for the rest of my life, or do I want to begin the process of healing from it, which And the only way to do that, the only way, unfortunately, is to forgive. Forgive the person, forgive yourself, forgive the situation. And it's a process that we all have to go through in life, because I'm sure, you know, even as a child, there's things crop up in your life that you're not happy with, and you need to forgive.
Yeah.
You know, and we carry it on to later life, don't we, Mary? We do. We can carry things on for, 50 years or more.
Yeah. There's the kind of the unspoken experience that happened, and it got shut in the cupboard and shut away, and people said, well, we won't just talk about that. But there's the, as you say, the blocking off of the energy, and then you are trying to live with that resistance going on in your energy. You think you're doing fine, but actually you haven't got access to it. The other thing that I'm found in my life experience is that if I shout something in the cupboard and I'm trying to ignore it, and I think I'll put a happy face on over here and carry on living my life, if I look closely, pretty well the same scenario will pop up somewhere else for me. So different places, but it's the same kind of storyline. It's the same kind of thing about, well, why did that first experience happen? Was it that somebody actually kind of squashed you, crushed you a little bit in life, and you just kind of went, okay, I'm just not going to have them around in my life. I'll shut them out and I'll go and live my life in this direction.
Yeah.
And it's fine for a while, and then after a while you find actually there's somebody else who's kind of squashing you, crushing you out a little bit in life, and you just think, well, that one's going away, and you can't keep living like that. You need to actually at some point go, right, this is what's happening for me. Now go back to the most recent one, sort it, the one before that, and sort it. And that is what a lot of people do with their relationships. So we have the wonderful person in our lives. Everything is fine and rosy while they are doing exactly what we want, being exactly how we'd like them to be. And then suddenly things start to go wrong, in inverted commas. And then the relationship might end. A lot of people won't look at why the relationship ended. They'll go pick up another relationship, same thing, lovely and rosy to start with, and then after a while it's like, oh, things are starting to get a bit tired at the edges. And if we take the time and trouble to look and compare those two experiences of those two relationships, we often find so many threads and similarities. And truly they all come down to us at the end of the day. What did we allow to happen? What did we kind of turn a blind eye to? What did we quietly ignore? What did we hope would go away? Instead of actually finding ways to stand in our true power, give ourselves for allowing these things, get back in our full energy, and off we go again. Lots of stuff in there, Angela, that resonates.
I've seen it time and time again, Mary, and, and it's interesting, isn't it, how, a woman that's lived with an abusive father or something like that, or an alcoholic father, will then go and marry a man that's the same, with the same traits. It's so interesting. And yet, because that energy, that hurt, that pain in her hasn't been forgiven and released, she attracts that in another relationship. And until that is healed within that specific person, she will keep attracting a similar type of person into her life until she breaks that pattern.
And very interesting, Angela, and we have the absolute honour to work with so many different people who share these very personal sides of their lives with us in order to move forward and grow. And just so wonderful, quite recently there was somebody that I was with who was brought up in a household where the father was particularly abusive to the mother. And as a child he saw some things which were pretty unsavoury. He's gone on now, he's got a lovely family of his own, and and we were talking, and I said, oh gosh, you don't have much openness towards your father. And he was quite angry, and he said, well, why would I? He said, if we had a dreadful upbringing. And I said, okay, let's just sit with that for a minute and let's just think, where are you now in life? And he said, well, I've got a great relationship with my wife. He said, I've got 3 terrific kids. And I said, why have you got that? And he looked really, really puzzled. And he couldn't see. And I said, what did your dad give you? And he said, well, I said I would never, ever be a father like that or a husband like that. And I said, there you go. That was the gift your dad gave you. In all the pain of that young life, your dad actually held a gift which said, do it another way, do it a long way, do it a kind way. And thank heavens you picked that gift up and moved on. And wonderfully, this young man actually heard all that, and he went away with it a little bit. And not long after I heard from him, he said, yeah, great. He said, it's a new way to think about Dad, and to be grateful, and to therefore have this forgiveness that we're talking about. And he felt he had access to a whole chunk of his life and his energy that had been denied him, because it had been contained with the anger for so long.
But the gift in that was the father showed him how not to do it, didn't he?
Yeah. And it was his choice then to either say, that's how men behave in life, I will behave that way too.
That's
or
right.
to say, I'm not going to behave that way. I'm actually going to live a life where I am able to have a great relationship with my wife and my family, my children,
and I suppose that can go either way, and as you say, he made the choice to take the opposite way, and good for him.
And great privilege to actually be in and around people whose stories are so inspiring, and to do the work that we do, Angela.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I feel completely blessed every day, Mary, that these wonderful people put their trust in me, and the same for you, to guide them and to help them heal their pain, and to see them then, you know, a few months down the line when they've gone through that is amazing, and that nothing can compare to that feeling for me.
No, it's wonderful. And that we get to chat and have a good old share about these things as well, Angela.
Yeah, because that's how we learn and grow, isn't it? By talking about things and sharing them with others, and hopefully, you know, our listeners on this show will see similarities that to what we're talking about that's happened in our lives and our clients' lives, and, you know, use some of the tips and tools and tricks and practices that we found have worked for us and that work for our clients as well. And so we've reached the end again of another show. So it's been a riveting conversation as always, Mary.
Loved it.
And,
thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone that's been listening today. And I do hope that you have got some useful information from the show today. And if you'd like to drop us a line and tell us about your story of forgiveness and how, you know, something we've shared today may have helped you or something that you're going to try, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us on the page. There's a button on the page. Just click on that and we will receive an email. So thanks again for listening, everyone. Thank you, Mary, and I shall look forward to chatting to you again next time. You've been listening to the Manifest Your Ideal Life show with me, Angela Kane, and my colleague Mary Tudor on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. Thanks, everyone, and bye for now.
WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network presents with Transformational Life Coach.